Hello again, Ty. Yet
Hello.
again,
Yeah.
congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
I love this one so much.
Oh, cool.
So it's been a good while since In a Valley of Violence, but I know you've kept pretty busy on the TV side of things. But was there any particular reason that now felt like the right time to switch back to features with X?
It had been a while since I made a horror movie. I needed a break, and I had this sort of idea kicking around for a little while. And doing TV is a different job. I like it just as much, but they are two different things. And I was really enjoying myself. And then I started to feel like I did a lot in a row. Like I did like 17 episodes in a row. Like I was like one after another, which was great. But I felt very sharp because I had spent a lot of reps on set. And I felt like if there was ever a time, I should probably do it while I'm like this sharp from going one show to another. And I wanted to make something that was very like craft driven and craft focused and like had a sort of reverence for cinema as part of it. So that's the timing just lined up where I was like, if I'm ever going to do it, I'm as sharp as I'm ever going to be right now. This idea has been kicking around. It's not going anywhere. A24 is crazy enough to do it. We should just do it.
Tales from the Loop was underrated. Not enough people watch that show.
That's the best show I've ever done. I love that show.
Breaks my heart a little bit.
Yeah.
Why this story now for you as a feature director? Was there anything that you were able to achieve on X that specifically came from the fact that you did, House of the Devil, Innkeepers, etc. before?
Yeah, I mean, not one thing. I mean, it's kind of all of it, and the TV goes into that as well. Just the experience of having made more, you just get better, just like anything else. But for me, I felt like my own personal experiences with horror movies had gotten a little soft. I had never wanted to make a slasher movie. I kind of felt like, well, I never wanted to, but people aren't really making that many slasher movies, and horror movies feel kind of soft. Maybe now's the time. I had this idea that I wanted to make something that I have a great deal of reverence for cinema as an art form and a crazy thing that people go do. And I feel like less and less people grasp that than they used to because we're so bombarded with content all the time. So I wanted to make a movie where the characters in the movie were making a movie to kind of invite you in to kind of be charmed by what it takes to make a movie. And if I could do that, then I could also give the audience kind of a crash course in what I'm doing in the movie. And so if I could make something that really kind of like put the craft of filmmaking into the story in a way that was charming and that would hopefully make people like think movies are cool, that seemed worthwhile to do to me because I sometimes feel I'm missing that. And it also just seemed like a challenge, and it seemed like a way to challenge myself to hopefully elevate some craft, to have the composer do that, to have the costume designer do that, to have the cinematographer do that, and to have like the actors do it. Hence the Mia situation is to like, and special effects makeup do that. It was like, I just want to see what would happen if we really just took a very lowbrow subgenre and tried to do something like with a high level of craft.
You legit look like you could be in that cabin right now.
I know, that's funny. That someone had an interview with me and they were like, the creepy cabin. And I was like not my head. They were like, the creepy cabin in the movie. And I was like, I thought it was okay. I thought it was kind of cozy.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Why particularly the 1970s for this movie? What was it about, that decade versus others that you think just best served these particular themes that you were exploring?
I think the two biggest reasons are like in the story and the narrative of the movie. Like the mid 70s is when VHS started to really become a viable option. It obviously boomed in the 80s, but if you were someone who was like an outsider of the film business and saw an opportunity to get in, like say Wayne does, entrepreneurial speaking, it was like the late 70s was the time. If you were to get in early on VHS and to get in early on making independent movies, no matter the type, that would have been the time to do that and make some money. So it made sense then. And then because the movie was like going to be craft driven, and filmmaking driven, I would say that like the 1970s is probably as like lauded of a time in American cinema as there is. And it's a time where successful movies were also a little experimental and were very sort of like oftentimes filmmaker driven and like cinema driven. Like it just is the decade of that. So it made sense to me.
Just for fun, did you ever think how the story might play out if it happened today?
Yes, and it was not interesting. It was people on webcams.
I mean, you're probably not.
If you were to try to make legit, if you were to logically take it to a place of what if it was made today, it would not be, you wouldn't necessarily go to that place. You wouldn't necessarily shoot it the way you did. It wouldn't be as difficult for those characters. They wouldn't need to be filmed. We would take a lot of the sort of like love of cinema out of it, and it would become very much like get on this webcam and show something and we're going to make some money. And that in many ways was like the was antithetical to what the movie was. Like there was a movie when I wrote this movie that people had in their head that they were terrified I could be making, and then the movie that it actually is. And like that was important to me that it be like, no, this is like a fun and like sort of charming movie, not like a dark nihilistic movie.
Fun and charming, but I was very surprised by the reason why this movie kept me up at night. I just didn't expect that deeper exploration of aging and what it means, and really got under my skin, but in the best possible way. All right, okay. I'm going to put up the spoiler warning now so you can talk about these next things freely, and we will save it for later. So of course I've got my own thoughts on this, but it's different when it's coming from you. Why was it important for you, for Mia, to play both the roles? And did you ever, even for a second, consider having her just play Maxine?
No. If I didn't think she could have done it, maybe, but I always wanted that character to be played, those characters to be played by the same actor. One, because of the craft of the special effects makeup, and two, because I think people kind of want to be where they're not. It's like when I get there, it's going to be better. And then when you get there, you realize, oh, if I could just go back, it would be better. This is a common thing in sort of life in general. And I felt like there's a duality of those characters. And I think that they're different people, but they're kind of the same character, just different places. And so that always felt to me to be an interesting challenge for an actor, challenge for special effects makeup, and then just thematically and from the cinema craft thing I keep going on about, it just all seemed to be like a sensible way to do it. Well, actually not a sensible way, absurd way to do it, but like if pulled off, like a memorable, cool thing to do. And that was the drive for most of it.
Job very well done with that. So I was reading in the press notes that you said that Mia was just especially fearless and never afraid to really put herself out there while doing this. So can you give us an example of a time when Mia really went above and beyond with that fearlessness, and a particular scene is better off because of it?
Well, Mia's just like, she has this very like, once you're rolling, she has a very sort of wild energy that you never quite know what you're going to get, which I think works especially well for Maxine, because it's someone who all these characters in the movie have their own goals and their own what they're trying to get out of this experience, but none of them are taking it as seriously as Maxine is, and so Mia, I think, relates to that and has an element of that, of just sort of like, I'm going 110%, and you're going to have to if you ever did like a fight scene with Mia, you'd be like, we got to be careful, because it is what it is. And then when she was Pearl, I mean, it's not so far as to say it was like, oh my God, we forgot it was her and it was but it kind of was, because 8 hours of makeup every day does turn you into a different person, not just visually, but that's a long time to sit in the chair. She had to get up at 3 a.m. every day for 6 to 8 hours before we even started the 10 to 12 hour day, and so that's a lot, and it's heavy, and it's just a lot to take on. So it was a little bit like treating, not an old person, but like a somewhat invalid person in a way, because we were always helping around. She had contacts you can really see. So it was just an odd experience. And then she just embodied those. She wasn't so method that you would never talk to Mia through the makeup, but you just stopped talking to Mia through the makeup because it was so convincing. And that's also a credit to Weta and their amazing work.
To wrap up here, one thing that I've been thinking of quite a bit, what do you think could have made things better for Pearl? Even if Pearl did get the life that she dreamed of, do you think that the realities of aging would have caught up to her anyway?
I mean, that's a relatively existential question. So it's hard to necessarily say for sure. I think that in many ways that question is more interesting than the answer. And I'm not trying to dodge what you're saying. I'm just saying that let's say she did become whoever she wants to be. And let's say Maxine does become whoever she wants to be. Will they really be happy? I don't know. I guess only time will tell.
Big part of the reason the movie has not left my mind since I saw it. Again, Ty, congratulations. Love your stuff. Every single movie. You give me something fresh and different. Your range is insane, and I love it.
All right. I appreciate it. Hopefully I'll deliver next time as well.
I believe it. Thanks a lot, guys.